Marcus.
Yo, Mondale.
Wagwan, boy.
Me don't know now, but we're going to get Irish.
Hey. We are
What's
the worst
happening?
attempting Jamaican motherfuckers in the world. What's poppin',
Right.
brethren?
Nothing much, man. Listen, we are all the way live. Clickbaity, political thirst trap, episode 3 for the nighttime. We just moved, as you all know, and tonight we are joined by our dear sister Malaika Jabali. She comes to us all the way live from, I don't know where you
Everywhere.
are in the world, everywhere, but
Everywhere. She's
I know
writing
she's the
everywhere. Her
I know
name's
she's the
all
A.
over Twitter. She
I know.
everywhere.
I know she's
Definitely
I know she's
everywhere.
I know she's the AT alien, and I know you came down here and chillax for the holiday season with your family. But how you
Yeah,
doing, sis?
I've been very well. We were just talking beforehand. I just celebrated a birthday last week, so getting my thoughts
Yay.
together, trying to manifest.
Right. You know, we don't before we even get started, I need everybody who is following Clickbaity Political Thirst Trap to go off and follow her on her Instagram page. Is that your preferred method of, I know you get a little ratchet on Instagram.
I don't get ratchet
She
on
don't
Instagram.
get ratchet.
I'm just joking, sis. But
Her
would
Twitter,
you
her
tell
Twitter's like that too. The truth
I'm
all day.
Yeah, no, you speak the truth on a level that not a lot of people do, and that's why I'm very happy to have you on. We're gonna go through a couple of things tonight, and I mean, like, feel free to vibe out any way that you want to, sis. Like, we're here to support you and make sure that you actually have, like, whatever clearance to actually say what you wanted to say. I do want to start tonight off by giving my friend and a colleague and my partner and somebody who I appreciate a whole hell of a lot, of big old shout out for becoming the next DNC chair for America, and that is Hey, listen, Jamie.
Jamie Harrison, South Carolina. Absolutely.
Jamie Harrison became, I believe, is the Biden's choice for, and we can go into this, but I want to go ahead and give my progressive, like, bona fides to Jamie and actually what this means for me personally, because I know everybody thinks anyone who holds the position of DNC chair is automatically a moderate asshole who's going to put Wall Street interests first. And I don't think Jamie is that person, but and he does have moderate ways about himself. But let me say something very clearly, because a lot of people, especially in the progressive world, I work closely with Jamie when it comes down to being a black progressive, right? I was Bernie Sanders' black outreach director in 2016, and I spent most of my time in South Carolina during the period where Jamie Harrison was the chair. And when I tell you, everybody in that state in 2016 was for Hillary Clinton, I mean everybody except Jamie. For some strange reason, Jamie, as the South Carolina chair of the Democratic Party, was neutral, and he was a man of his word. And when I say that, he gave clearance.
Now think about that. A chair,
right?
neutral.
Yeah. He was a chair, and he was actually neutral. He wasn't passing my secrets or our secrets back and forth. He wasn't not inviting us to events. He wasn't doing all of the things that Democratic establishment figures do towards progressive Bernie people. He never did that. Now, and to be honest with you, Jamie would call me. He probably did some stuff that he probably shouldn't have did. Jamie would call me and be like, "Well, Marcus, how come your candidate's not here for this event? How come your candidate's not here for that event? We're having an event next week. Your candidate needs to show up. Marcus, that was a great idea that your campaign had for the HBCU tour. Here's the other colleges that you missed. Marcus, here's actually a phone number that you need to call if you're trying to get your event on that campus." Listen, when I tell you that Jamie laid a pathway of openness for us to kind of take advantage of, and we didn't necessarily take advantage of everything. We took advantage of some things, but we definitely didn't take advantage of most of the things that Jamie laid to bear. I would be remiss if I didn't say on the third episode of Clickbaity Political Thirst Trap. And am I sitting here saying that he's going to be, the first person to scream Medicare for all, or scream, reparations, or scream whatever? You know, maybe not, possibly not. But what I am going to say is that when we bring our issues to Jamie Harrison, unlike a lot of other DNC chairs in the past, we have an opportunity to have a more progressive party. And I'm a hater. Everybody who's watching me now knows that I will openly hate what the DNC, whatever the DNC does. Matter of fact, picking Jamie was a surprise to me, because I made a statement a couple of months ago saying that there's a couple of guys who are running for office that will that are kind of like progressive snakes in the grass for the moderates. And I was actually thinking about him when I said it. In a Joe Biden administration that will accidentally do something good for progressives just by hiring the wrong people, this is the biggest mistake he made. And that's my opinion. Now, of course, Jamie can, his actions could say some different things, right?
Sis,
I mean, go ahead.
Go ahead, sis. Jump in there if you got something to say. I definitely want to talk about it, but I want to hear from you.
I'm not muted, am I?
No, you're good.
You're good.
Okay, well, I couldn't tell if I muted myself. I always look at this. I think Marcus's insight here is I think having somebody like Marcus who has worked in campaigns, worked in a progressive campaign, worked with Bernie Sanders is valuable here to have like this kind of objectivity. I am quite subjective because I do organizing on a local level in New York City, and I just see how the Democratic Party operates even on this local level, where you really have to look at who is fundamentally calling the shots. And so we can have positions, and this is really not an assessment of Jamie being appointed or whatever. This is just me thinking generally about the Democratic Party. And so in New York City, you have a Democratic Party club in all of the boroughs, and whoever is behind that Democratic Party club, whoever is, leading that's who calls the shot. So you could have a black speaker, which we have not had, by the way. You could have a black speaker if you want to. You could have a black majority leader, a black minority whip or majority whip, whatever position that you have in city council. But you got to look at who is actually calling the shot. So again, this isn't about, what Jamie may or may not do, but I feel like this applies to the Democratic Party overall. If you are looking at who has the power, and that tends to be white people behind the scenes who have the power, white moderates, let's be real. Talking about right. White moderates, they want to make sure that their agenda gets passed. And so personally, I'm always skeptical of the types of black people that they end up elevating, because to me, that means, okay, they must have been appointing them or they entrust them for a reason. And so time will tell what that reason is. Time will tell if we're going to get the kinds of progressive policy that we need. But I'm always skeptical of the Democratic Party just based on the work that I've been doing here for several years and have been observing for like a decade.
Yo, as you should be. I mean, right. Whenever someone gets to make it to the highest rung of the DNC, we are obligated as black people who are aware to be skeptical of said person. Now, the good thing though is I have, like Marcus, relationships with Jamie, and the wonderful thing about Jamie is Jamie did something that the National Party didn't like when he was the chair of South Carolina Party, and he turned it into a service organization for communities. So even before the party was, out doing outreach in our communities when there were elections and when there were no elections, whatever the year was, Jamie turned that party, all the resources in that party, inward and gave it to to that state. And I think that goes a long way. And it also showed that, you can be an insider, but not think like them. So, what right now we know why people are going to automatically say Jamie got this nomination. They're going to say, oh, well, Clyburn was pushing this. This is Clyburn once again trying to exert his force and his power and be the voice of black people. But in actuality, James Clyburn had nothing to do with this. Joe Biden had no, you couldn't name anybody else. You've only put 2 black men in your administration. And how can you not name Jamie as DNC chair when the job of the DNC chair is is to fund all of the auxiliaries for this organization around the country. And Jamie raised $170 million. And a lot of that was without the party help by himself. So once they saw that he could do it, then they jumped in, absolutely. But this is a man that was raising tons of money already by himself. So what I'm excited about is the fact that Jamie is the chair of the DNC, and it doesn't look like anybody's going to challenge him. And as long as he gets these signatures, he's going to be on the ballot. And what that does is the amount of latitude the chair has. Don't forget, Tom Perez got to do whatever he wants to unchecked. Jamie will be unchecked. So whatever happens with which candidates we're supporting, how we're supporting those candidates for the next couple years will be Jamie's say so. He will be the bottom line of that. And I'm super excited about that. Furthermore, we got to be super excited about the diversity, and we know diversity for the sake of diversity ain't our cure. But Biden, in the other folk that he named, he didn't name one white person for top leadership. He named Keisha Lance Bottom. He named who we have our problems with, of course. Her support for police. Her support for police is scary as hell. Also, he named Whitmer. He named who else?
He should have named our black ass.
The Latinx brother. You know that was never gonna happen. He named the Latinx brother from Texas, and another. Oh, the senator from Chicago. What's her name? From Illinois. Sorry.
I forgot that. I forgot the name.
Who is it?
Not Duckworth.
Yes, Duckworth. Thank you.
Duckworth. Yeah.
So, I mean, there's some diversity. We do know that these are party insiders, but I mean, if we're thinking about party insiders, he didn't make Clyburn the chair. So I'm super excited, and that's a victory. Whenever Clyburn is not given more power, I'm super excited because we know the harm that's associated with him and his thinking.
Well, so what if Clyburn did push him? Clyburn ain't Jamie.
Clyburn ain't Jamie. That's true.
Yeah, I don't care if Clyburn did push him. Clyburn ain't Jamie. Jamie doesn't jump just because some. Okay, let me. Jamie doesn't jump when Pelosi says jump. And for the past 2 years, pretty much fundamentally, every single time Pelosi said jump, Clyburn jump. And that's not the kind of cat Jamie is. Jamie looks at people who are surrounded by him. So listen first, because what's about to happen, I know it's about to happen in progressive circles. That's why I'm so happy to have an opportunity to have my own platform so I can put out things before white progressives start saying, well, Jamie Harrison took X, Y, Z amount of money, and Jamie. And listen, some of those things are going to be true, but a lot of it, I'm going to push past a lot of it because I'm black first. I'm a black progressive. I'm not a progressive black. That's a very important statement for me to make. I'm a black person first. And what I mean, and why is that important? Because you might look at Jamie Harrison as a moderate while he's trying to make sure that black families have food to eat in the poorest state in the nation, one of the poorest states in the nation, right? And that right there is progressive to me. Taking care of African Americans and the poorer folks are progressive to me. Now, if he starts doing very moderate neoliberal decisions that really affect campaigns, if he starts pushing a whole DNC to be against a progressive candidate, if he starts saying that we need to support XYZ candidate who's a problematic person, but just because Wall Street likes this person over a person that's actually trying to do work for the people, then Jamie knows this straight up. Like, I can call him, and I've called him and said, yo, that's whack. But to be honest with you, I haven't had that many opportunities, because when you're dealing with poverty in a state like South Carolina and your Democratic chair, you understand and have an organic appreciation for your base, then conversations can be different. We can push Jamie. I know for a fact that you can't necessarily go up to Tom Perez and say, well, you need to push Medicare for all. There was way too many interests that just organically hated the messenger, not the message, but the messenger. And every single time up until this point, every single person who has been in leadership in the DNC had an organic hatred for Bernie Sanders. Every single one of them, right?
That's real. Go ahead, sis.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that is probably the one good thing coming out of a Biden presidency is the fact that he is going to be pushing like Black and brown people. And because of that, it is going to be harder for them to play if you like Medicare for all, then you must be about white people. It's like, no, we have the Black people who are arguing for these things. You have the Black and brown folks coming from, some progressive communities that you are trying to, whatever you're doing, if you're placating them, if whatever, however you're elevating them, you will not be able to then have the excuse that, doing this is identity politics. You've got a Cori Bush in there, just speaking of Congress. You've got Mondaire Jones in there.
That's
so
right.
These are going to be now the faces of the progressive policies that folks have been advocating for from the left wing of the party for years now. And you're not going to be able to pull that card as easily. And so that is the one thing that I am looking forward to.
Yeah, right. I think you're absolutely right. And another thing that's going to be wonderful is I think the accountability level is going to be pulled so much faster now, and I don't think it's just going to come from people on the outside. When you say names like Cori Bush, we already see what happens. We see what's going on. She's on the floor, giving her first speech, calling out white supremacists, and including the president in that. So this idea that you need to be polite when your people are being killed and harmed on a daily basis is a way of old that these people are not sitting still for. I mean, our brother's first interview on CNN talking about Jamal Bowman first interview got pulled because he was calling out names. He was talking about what we need to be talking about, and people didn't want to hear it. So they yanked the plug real quick. So I'm super excited about this new way to be black and elected, because the past was be black and be there, and that was enough. Like, this idea of sitting at the table is good enough. Like, you can't build your own table. So we got black people now that are elected officials at the federal level that know that they have built their own table, and they came in from the outside, so they're not dependent on the party's support. And that is going to mean so much more as it pertains to calling people out. So I'm super excited about that as well. Now,
that's going to be the key is, do they have enough independence where they've got their own constituency? They know that they're locked into office for, years to come, and they don't have to rely on the DNC resources per se, or just always being in their good graces.
Well, I mean, there's another point that I want to put to this. Listen, before Jamie Harrison in South Carolina, everybody looked at the state of South Carolina like they looked at Georgia, like they currently look at Mississippi, like they look at Alabama before Doug Jones, because a white man happened to be running as a Democrat, right? Like, leftists, before y'all talk shit, understand something. Y'all didn't donate to nobody in South Carolina. Leftists, before you talk noise, y'all most progressives, not leftists, progressives, but including leftists. Y'all most popular.
Because I'm a radical, so
right. So there's a lot of y'all who actually don't understand that the resources that should have been poured into South Carolina from your favorite guy never happened, right? So Jamie was down there working by himself, right? And this is black city council people who are progressive. This is black Charlestonian people who are progressive. Jamie had a relationship with
Geechee people.
Yeah, Geechee people, Gullah people. Jamie had a relationship with an organizer by the name of Muhyiddin Dabaya. He was the Charleston BLM leader who y'all might remember him because he Mario brothered that Confederate flag in Charleston, South Carolina. And unfortunately, my brother got killed, and I miss him dearly. But my brother got killed in New Orleans. You ever seen a DNC chair of a whole state have a relationship with a Black Lives Matter activist like that and consult him and conversate with him and actually say to him, hey, listen, you were heard, and these are some of the things that we need to do? No, you haven't. So when y'all come down the river, probably next month, even myself, and y'all start like bashing things, I just want everyone to know that for the first time that there might be a chair, because we can't guarantee nothing, but there might be a chair that actually centers blackness in the DNC. So I'm sorry, y'all weren't going to get Nina Turner. I'm sorry, y'all weren't going to get Marcus. I'm sorry, y'all going to get Mondale. You want to get Malaika. I'm sorry, y'all weren't going to get anybody that you think was black or brown or progressive as the DNC chair. So sometimes you got to deal with the people that you get, and I am still surprised that the person that we got is Jamie Harris.
Yeah, and listen, go ahead, Marcus.
No, you got it.
I'm just thinking about how Jamie poured resources into local races, not just, like I say, on presidential years and all years. So that was a party that was funding people in North Carolina, my home state. They weren't, the state party wasn't really funding black candidates in places. They were talking about what's electable. who's electable, and it was never people that look like us. So I'm excited about what it means for candidates and how the 50 state strategy looks under Jamie's rule. And I am optimistic about that. So I'm super duper excited about that. Also, talking about resources. Can we talk about resources and shit? Is that off
We can
limits?
talk about resources. No.
The
Can we
shit.
talk about resources and shit though? That's what I want to talk about.
Yeah, what's the
Go
shit
ahead.
part of the resource?
The shit part of it is Ivanka Trump and her husband, Jared Kushner, who are being protected everywhere they go by our country's Secret Service, denied them access to their bathroom and said they are not allowed in their house to use their bathroom. So we had the taxpayers have to spend $3,000 a month. This just came out. $3,000 a month to rent a basement down the street from their house so Secret Service who's protecting them can go down there and use the restroom. Now think about this. First of all, these people are supposed to be protecting you. Now they have to leave their post to go to another house that they're renting a basement in to use the restroom there. And in that time, because they are stationed at your house, something serious can happen and jeopardize their mission because one of their people that's scheduled to you is down the street using the bathroom. This is what we're talking about. This is what I'm talking about. This is just indicative of the Trump and the Trump administration and his kids. Actually, I should just say his administration because Ivanka is a part of that administration. This is not the first time they've wasted money. We remember that ski trip when they first got elected. I think it was like a $900,000 ski trip or something because Secret Service had to have these skis and boots and all of this stuff that had to go into it. It's just more waste when we can't even get these people to take care of people starving on the streets in D.C. down the street from their 5,500 square foot house in Georgetown.
Yeah, corrupt, mean grumpies. I hate that.
When is the official eviction day? When are they getting their papers?
Right. I was hoping that they would leave this weekend and not come back. Just like leave. We see all of them have bought houses in Florida, right? Ivanka and Jared bought one in Miami. The youngest daughter, Tiffany's looking for a house in Miami right now. Donald Trump, of course, is going to be in Florida. They're all apparently trying to run to Florida. Knowing them, they probably think that they're safe from American law in Florida because they don't understand how law in America works. So we'll see.
I mean, listen, first, okay, we can go into it. Let's go ahead and start. This whole unity shit is bullshit. Like, I'm tired of y'all bullshitting with you on Twitter and on Facebook and on MSNBC and CNN about unity. I don't want no goddamn unity. I want to see these people go to goddamn jail. Like, matter of fact, you have a current congresswoman that is going to announce an impeachment over Joe Biden the day after inauguration. Why in the fuck are we even talking about unity? You know why? Because moderate Democrats have a nasty addiction to even more moderation, right? And instead of like going left in this situation means one thing. That means, hey, we're going to prosecute these jackasses. Like, we're going to put federal charges on everybody that had anything to do with anything, including from the president down to, the dog catcher that flew up to DC last week. I want to see them treat us the same way. Treat them the same way that they treat us. That's all I want to see at this point.
Jabali, before you jump in, let me say to our followers, if you are watching this show and you're on YouTube, you must subscribe. You don't have to, but we would love it if you subscribe to our channel. Clickbaity is the channel. Please make sure if you're on YouTube to subscribe. If you're on Facebook, be sure to start a watch party and share it with your friends, all of your friends. If you're on Twitter, repost that thing. You dig? And also,
repost that thing.
Go ahead, family.
Yeah, I mean, I think there absolutely needs to be. Well, first of all, I was talking to somebody about this, and y'all know I do not hold back when it comes to criticizing either party, and I don't hold back when it comes to criticizing Democrats. I consider myself independent more than anything. At the same time, I was talking to a colleague, you could say, or a mentor, because I was very frustrated. This was Joe Biden talking about unity, I think. It was one of the debates. And so it was before we even, we had the election results. And I was like, why are we talking about unifying with fascists? And so her point was that if he doesn't do that, like, people are going to do what they're going to do on the ground anyway. You're going to have liberals and progressives and the left wing They are still going to be battling these people rhetorically and elsewhere. But as a head of state, then it is his role to try and temper things to the extent that he can. So in some way, it may not necessarily be him, capitulating to them, more so trying to temper their craziness. I can get that. At the same time, we need strong, I can't see how we cannot have someone who tempers what's happening, but is also thinking about the policy that's going to affect the masses of people, who is not also talking about the policy that is going to try and curb what's happening with far-right extremism, who's not giving some tangible language and resources, the same way that under Obama we had like this, it was kind of a task force, it was some unit that was responsible for mitigating right-wing violence. And they were having kind of these anti-racist and like anti-white supremacy programs. So not just expanding the police state. And I'm conflicted about that. Like, I consider myself a baby abolitionist. And so we know whatever resources they're going to use to expand and surveil these white right-wing vigilantes, they're going to use against our people even more. So I have complete reservations. I can't even fully say that I support that. Yes, I would like, theoretically, yes, we would like to see those types of people punished, but that's just not what happens for the most part, just thinking about it kind of historically through trends. But I feel like Joe Biden can still find a way to speak tangibly about how to resolve that, instead of just these really pat calls for unity. You had somebody like Abraham Lincoln who was talking about that, but still the country had to go to war. Like, there was still violence, So he compares himself to Abraham Lincoln. We had a whole ass war to fight these people.
And I also want to say, we got to be honest. I mean, we are chronically oppressed folk, which means we have a people that is chronically oppressing us. So, and I think we should say that, because when you talk about unity without reconciliation and making right the wrong, I mean, why aren't we unified? Let's talk about what broke us, and then until we really address that, we're talking about racism. And if we don't fix racism, we can't unify. All we're doing is asking black and brown folk to just deal with it and move on and hold hands with the same people that were trying to kill them last week. That makes no sense to me. They're not looking for unity. If you don't believe me, only 10 of them voted to impeach Donald Trump. That's not unity. That's them holding the party line. So people can keep saying bipartisan because 10 Republicans voted to impeach Trump. That is not bipartisan. There shouldn't have been no votes against the impeachment, period.
When it comes to racism, bipartisan means white people shit. When it comes to what's going on right now, matter of fact, let's just go ahead and translate words for people, right? Bipartisan equals white people stuff, right? Like white people talking to other white people and black people jumping on board. Like that's just factual. Bipartisanship means, because when you're a bipartisan with a party that represents white supremacy and supports white supremacy, by every time you say the word bipartisanship, you're saying fuck black people. Point blank. That is that simple, right? You can't have bipartisan efforts with people who have historically underfunded our schools. You can't have bipartisan, and I'm not talking about just the blatant racism. I mean, the blatant atrocities of running up in the Capitol. I'm talking about, you can't be bipartisan with someone who decides to gerrymander districts so 3 black people can have seats for 40 years, and then we can't get any other power, even though we're the majority of a state or majority of an area. That's what bipartisanship means. Bipartisanship means, let's do a redistricting and keep people oppressed. Bipartisanship means let's subvert the vote, but as long as we allow you to get in, you're good. I'm tired of bipartisanship, man. I want to actually play a game with you two real quick, if y'all don't mind, just a quick game.
Marcus, before you start your game, I realized I started the show and I was being a very cisgendered motherfucking man, and I didn't ask Jabali what are your preferred pronouns.
That's right. Our bad.
He, her.
Okay, because I heard somebody, I saw somebody in the chat saying she, and I'm like, wait, we didn't clear that. Okay, so good to go.
My pronoun is king.
Oh Jesus!
Just call me King, Marcus.
Is that So listen, here's my problem. I always laugh when people be like,
I prefer that. I prefer y'all
okay,
call
King.
me King.
Okay, King. But listen, here's my problem when black people be like, what up, King? What up?
I don't refer you, they. I don't. I'm trans.
Listen, when people start talking about king and shit like that, I get nervous. I'm like, because kings and queens are, that's you got subjects, which means you rule over people indiscriminately for no other reason than you were born a certain way. So I when black people are like, what up, king? What up, queen? I'm like, yeah, I don't know about that.
Yeah, Wodie's my subject though.
You said Wody?
His dog, he got a dog named Wody. It's a beautiful dog too.
Wodie's my subject, and you know what I mean, even though I'm a peasant to him in this household, I do have a game for y'all first. But first, before we go into my game, I want to actually ask the Trap Squad to do me a favor and stop right now, like and share this post. Again, I know we do it a lot like a commercial, but we are getting off the ground. Like and share this post. Make sure you go to Malaika's Twitter page. What's your Twitter handle? It's right there. Malaika, I keep messing up. I'm sorry, Malaika. Make sure you go to Malaika's Twitter handle and follow her right now. We consider her a friend and family of the Trap Squad, and make sure that you like and sub our posts on Facebook and Instagram.
Hey, Jabali, you act like that boy ain't from Tallahassee with that extra long talk. He can't talk, right?
I can't. Hold on. But before the show.
Oh Lord.
Oh, before the show, Malaika say, yeah, I've been to Tallahassee before. I know about the moon.
You see how we did that? You see how we did that right there?
Now, let me tell y'all something. If y'all have ever flown over Tallahassee, the only thing that we got is a Walmart and the moon and the Capitol, right? That's what we got, right? FAMU happens to be there. Florida State happens to be there. But the moon. And the moon is the most ratchet place that... And it's been open. It's been open for years. And when I say years, I mean 2 Live Crew performed at the moon when they were hot, right? Okay, like when they were the new group, right? They performed at the moon. Outkast's first time performing in the state of Florida was at the moon in Tallahassee. Little trivia for y'all. So I guess my question right now is, what did you wear to the moon?
I actually remember, and this, speaking of being old, this had to be like 20 years ago. No, not 20, but along 15 years ago. I think it was a pink tube top. And back in the day, we still was rocking low-rise jeans. So it was like low-rise jeans, like a little flare. And I was like, I felt so at home because only down south will you see like dudes dance in the club. Dudes, they had routines. There was a whole choreography going on. So the big white tees were still a thing. So you had these dudes with these big white tees, and they did like a whole choreographed session. I felt like I was in You Got Served on the sidelines.
Listen, that is a real thing. I don't even know why. Like in the South, we don't even play games. Brothers dance. Like, for real dance. And I ain't just talking about you belong to a fraternity and you doing karate kicks when Atomic Dog comes on. I'm talking about we dance.
They practice this at home. They practiced this in a parking lot before they got there. Like it was choreographed.
So I am going to take one hometown privilege and just say shout out to King Brill for bringing up Top Flight. So like, I mean, if there's another Tallahassee staple, I'm bringing up my hometown clubs, but like these are clubs that actually have been around for a long time and raised a whole hell of a lot of people. And don't trip, because Deion Sanders been in the moon many a times. And if you think Andrew Gillum hadn't been in the moon, if you think everybody done been to the moon and been a little bit of ratchet. And that was the last time I wore my yellow cross color suit.
Not cross colors.
Not yellow. Not yellow.
Yeah.
Not yellow.
With the pinstripes.
Oh my!
The pinstripe joint.
Oh my! You were for real Tallahassee.
Oh man, Malaika, did you happen to catch the guy with the Confederate flag in the Capitol? Was that you? Did you call him in?
Did I call him in?
Yeah. Did you
snitch on him?
Did you snitch on him?
We giving out awards to people who snitch on those white folk that was in the Capitol.
That's right.
What kind of awards we getting?
Gold black cards. You're getting gold black cards.
That's that shit right there. So somebody caught him. They found who it was.
Yeah, I believe they did. And Trap Squad, maybe you guys can help us out, but I think I can pull it up real quick. So what happened today, I believe, is that he was caught. And I guess they got his flag also, but it's just been a whole it's just been a whole whirlwind of white people getting arrested.
Hey Marcus, where they get his flag from? Off the back of his truck?
Yeah, right above the truck nuts. Right.
He probably got it from them. He was like, "Let me borrow this real quick," and so now they
right.
flag.
Oh wow.
So y'all explain to me how that conversation went down. I'm gonna take this damn Confederate flag and I'm gonna fly it in the Capitol. What you think, Billy Joe Bob?
I'm telling you, Marcus,
right there.
As a country boy, I'm obligated to say that some of these folk came from up north. Some of them right here in D.C. Some of them in PG County. These white folk ain't all our southern, neighbors. Some of these folk live in, Pittworth. Some of them live in Brookland, and not Brooklyn. If you're in D.C., you know what I'm talking about. So I mean, we listen. We got to know that whiteness is scary for us. All over. There's Confederate flags on a lot of folk in DC's heart. We know that for sure. So while we clowning my country folk, let's make sure that we keep it 100 and know some of these northeastern liberals at academia are just as racist.
Man, if you drive from New York to Burlington, there has no southern state anywhere in between that drive. I saw 3 Confederate flags just hanging in people's yards. Like, I mean, did y'all escape or something? Right? Like, so it's all over the place. Go ahead, Malaika.
Yeah, I mean, and let's be real too. Like, white supremacy doesn't just look like the Confederacy. It doesn't just look like the right wing. And I think the Confederate flag creates a very visceral reaction for us as Southerners, because this is something that was on my state flag. Like, I grew up in the town that was the home of the KKK in Stone Mountain. But when I tell you I've experienced more explicit racism in New York City than any time I've ever been back home, like, that's real. So it's not just people's, overt racism. We have white supremacy in policy. We have white supremacy just saying that you need to unite with people and ignoring like the policy interests of Black people that are killing thousands and thousands of stuff. That's white supremacy. White supremacy is kowtowing to moderates and some of these conservatives who you think you need to win over by being, mum on defund the police. That kills thousands of us. So that is also white supremacy. So we're in a tough place as Black people in this country because we have the Confederate type of white supremacy and we have the moderate and liberal and frankly, all over left of center consists of people who want to prioritize white people's interests and the interests of capital. And that harms all of us. So that's Confederate to me too.
Indeed.
Now, would you, first off, powerful words, sis, would you tell us, in your opinion, the way forward after all of this has happened and recently with the Biden administration when it pertains to defund the police? Malaika, in your opinion, how is this going to go down? How do we push this?
I feel a lot of different ways about it. So I'm going to try and give you something cohesive because I feel like I tend to be more cynical. And so I'll start with the bad news. The bad news is I don't think Biden is going to do anything. I think he is fundamentally into investing in police, not just, doing nothing or defunding. I think he likes the police. I think he thinks that they're valuable institutions. So will he do anything on his own? No. But I'm comforted by the fact that a lot of local activists, you got folks in, I think it's 13 different cities, at least by my last check in about October or November, 13 municipalities that have already started defunding the police. So this thing that we've acted like, or some moderates and even some of our people, center left, have argued this is just so far beyond the pale, nothing that we can do. Meanwhile, activists are making sure that 13 different city budgets are lowering the police budgets and what's getting invested in police. So I think this could be a situation where he may not have enough choice but to change his rhetoric, even if that is fundamentally who he is, because the cities are already going to be so far ahead of him. And so I think our general population is more advanced than, whatever the federal, legislative body or the executive branch is going to be. And so that could potentially guide federal law.
Okay.
Yeah, we definitely see that already. If you look at what's going on, I know you all saw this. BART is not replacing vacant police positions. If you don't know what BART is, go watch Fruitville Station and cry, and then tell me about those tears. But BART is gonna, instead of putting police back there, they're gonna put in social workers. And I think the way forward is gonna be every time a police leave, they hire another social worker. I think that's the way forward. I tell people all the time, this is way before white folk heard of defund the police. Black Panthers was the epitome of defund the police, but don't let them know that. My thing was, we should, every time a police go out, there should be a social worker in that car. There should be a social worker in every police, every time they go answer a call or they are on the beat, simply because these people are, I hate a group of people a certain way, but I feel like cops are people who didn't make it in the military, couldn't go to the military because they were flat-footed, or they were too short, or they were too tall, or something happened. They were too afraid, and so they just want to exert all types of power. And it's a sad situation, what we call policing in this country. And I think if we are honest, a long time ago, we knew that racists were infiltrating the police departments because it was under demand and command of federal elected officials to tell them, stop saying nigger in the street and run for sheriff. Stop saying nigger in the street and become a police chief. So this is their tactic in the 60s. So if you believe those cultures are gone, all you have to think about, if it takes you 30 years, 27 to 30 years to retire, and you was a sheriff that was elected in the 60s and you stayed there your whole career, then do the math. 30 years was the 90s. So all of that culture is still affecting us every day, and we see it in how black people are policed. So I'm with you. I think it's going to come from the general population, not the federal level, like most things anyway. Also, I wanted to comment on a comment you made about how racist and what Confederacy looks like. It reminded me of what my favorite human, Malcolm X, said. There are foxes, and then there are wolves. Those that walk around or drive around with those Confederate flags on their trucks or on their shirts are wolves. That does not mean that Nancy Pelosi and her crew aren't foxes. They're all racist. They're all canines. I think you're muted, Marcus. Yeah, Marcus.
I said, I hear you. That's those strong words right there, man. I think every white man who had a girlfriend taken from a by a black guy is a cop. I think every white man who tried to holler at a black girl and got rejected is a cop.
We would say Marcus was sitting on this whole time just to say this.
Because that's what I do. You've been on here for like 30 minutes and you figured me out completely. Yes, that's exactly what I do.
And thank you so much. Thank you so much, sis, for upgrading your internet. Because the last time you was up here, that's a shot fire right there. The last time you was up here, you were like, I said syntax error.
I was like in the chat, like real hectic. Like, what did y'all say? What was the question? Still trying to look professional. I kept it together though.
You did.
Yo,
did.
Our name was Mark Dale, that whole show. Our name was Mark Dale. So
he's silly with it. So I want y'all to know that we keep saying that this is our third episode. What we're talking about is we switched back from the morning show to the evening time. So this is not our third show. We're on, I don't know. We've been doing this every night now. We're in the hundreds. Yeah. So we come to you all at a time that is different than the morning show in the evening, so that we can make sure that the black folk on the West Coast get some of this magic right here. You dig?
Yeah, I mean that's all we can do. I'll go a step further and push this little envelope about policing in America, and then I want to actually move on to a different topic, and that is, I do really think that there is some kind of bestiality / sexualization of our women and and bestiality of our men, and automatic like pointed a grievous thuggishness that they blame on us that we just are now finally getting out of because remember, Birth of a Nation was filmed in the Capitol, right? I mean, was shown in the Capitol, and
the first motion picture ever shown,
and it showed representations of black people being rapists, murderers, stealing, thieves, and all this stuff, right?
Mind you, it was white people playing those roles.
That's right. They were in blackface, and they showed it in the Capitol. Now,
the White House, Woodrow Wilson brave ass put it in the White House, bro.
In the White House, right. Now, what's being shown on television, right? What will the future generations look back on in 2021 and say happened in January of 2021? It wasn't black people dressed up as white people going up to the Capitol. That was white people. And I want to be very careful. It wasn't all white people, but it was a certain faction of whiteness that has been allowed to be creating and grow and flourish to the point where they got bold enough to put bombs down, pack bullets, have guns all over the place, and literally run up into the Capitol building. And also that thing with the congresswoman from Boston,
Ayanna.
That's so scary, bro. That shit is so scary.
That thing makes me say like this right here. If the Capitol building has a problem with people taking guns into it, then Ayanna and all the black folks, and this is somewhere that me and Mondale disagree, y'all just need to start packing. Just pack too. Pack the same way that they pack, right? And I promise you there'll be a much quicker reaction to gun laws in the Capitol.
Hey, that's what I'm talking about. I saw you grab it. If you haven't read it, we should put that on our book list. We should.
We should. So wait. Now that you hold it up, what are your thoughts about black folks in the Second Amendment, madam?
Well, I mean, we know that the Constitution provisions were not intended for us. The Constitution was not intended for black people. It did not consider us. But while we have it, while we do have black lawyers and black judges and black people in some of these offices, I think we need to try and exercise what the Constitution provides, even though historically it is, it's treated discriminatorily, or it's applied discriminatorily. We got to do something. I think I'm almost out of fucks to give. We are at a extreme crisis right now for black people. We are seeing ourselves dying on the streets, and people are tired. So I remember I actually wrote about this. I wrote a piece in The Guardian about these people congregating on Parler and talking about Civil War and coming out to the Capitol and using like technology to spread the word about, their Second Amendment rights. And so in that story, I talked about trying to go to Stone Mountain one day. This was very recently. This was like last year on a holiday. We wanted to go hiking, and there was a protest with these Confederates who wanted to protect, the Confederate memorial that's etched in Stone Mountain. And then we wanted to go back another day, and black people had returned with guns of their own in protest.
That's
so,
right.
They shut down the park so we couldn't go inside, but black people are not playing. And you leave us with no choice. We say we want to take a knee for police reform. Y'all don't want that. We say, okay, well, let's give them fewer resources. Let's have less police funding and put that in social services. Y'all don't want that. So y'all can't just come willy-nilly and think we're not going to defend ourselves in some way.
And my pushback is, we know, like, when we arm ourselves, it's not just the white people we're going to be fighting against. We're going to be fighting against the system. The military will join white supremacists against us. We saw this for black people, this iPhone 12 scares the hell out of me, because to them, it's a Glock. It's a Glock. My iPhone is a Glock to them. It's grounds for them to kill me. Actually, a toy is grounds for them to kill me. Me breathing, standing upright, asking a question is a gun to them. So I'm afraid that the system does not apply. Like you said, it was not meant for us. It was actually meant as a way to separate poor white people from poor black people after Bacon Rebellion, the Second Amendment I'm talking about. So we know when they said black people couldn't own guns, when black people, poor black people and poor white people that were being abused by the elite got together and tried to revolt, they said, oh, we got to separate this from ever happening again. At this point, they start referring to people as black and white, because before that you were European and you were from wherever you were from in Europe and you were of African descent or nigger. So we know that the Second Amendment is tied directly to racism in this country. And I am the way that this country, exerts that power. It's clear that black people can't own guns like white people. And it frightens me at the rate at which we will be killed when we start talking about arming ourselves. And that is not a reason not to arm yourselves. It's my reason for not arming myself. Plus I lost a lot of family members to gun violence. So that's my thing with guns. And I was in the Marine Corps and I saw a bunch of idiots and racists learning how to shoot, become snipers and correct all their breathing errors when they were about to fire. And it just frightened me to the point where I said, these people will go back home with all of that racism, with all of this training, and make armies against blackness. And this is what we're seeing right now. We saw it last Wednesday.
I man, every time you say that, I understand you completely, but I'm just a judge by 12 guy. Just judge me by 12. Because carrying me by 6 means I don't have any chance to actually do it again, right? I was a corpsman. I was a medic in the military. And they only allowed us to carry certain types of weapons. And I had a lot of racist people who I had to pick up in the back of that damn ambulance or pull a bullet out of or give a Z-Pack because, Doc, it burns when I pee. Let me tell you something. Just the same way that I pulled a bullet out your ass, I put one in you, fucking with me. I don't, because here's the thing. I think about whether we are armed or whether we aren't armed. That bullet that has no name on it always ends up with name in the body of a person with name with a black name. So like what I'm saying is I don't condone violence, but what I am saying is that if they run up in the Capitol, they'll run up in your crib. If they run up in the Capitol,
circa 2020, circa 2020, Breonna Taylor.
Right. And you know what? Pac told us 30 years ago, bomb first, man. Like bomb first. And it's not about promoting violence. This is not about promoting violence. What this is a practice to either get all the gun laws changed in America so nobody can have them, or we protect ourselves. Point blank. Listen, in 2019, black gun sales were at 9%. At 2020, we went up to 56% as a culture. In 2021, we're on the record of going up even further to 75% sales of black families when it comes down to having firearms. When I go into these gun ranges from Thomasville, Georgia, I only go to the ones in Georgia because that's where I'm at. Thomasville, Georgia to Midtown, right? We're in the middle of a gentrified neighborhood. You know what I see? I see black people. I see old black people. I see young black people. I see bougie black people. I see poor black people, and they're all in line to learn how to shoot and protect themselves. And I ask them questions because I'm at the gun range a lot. That's my thing. And I ask them questions. Hey, why are you here? You know what they all say? These white people crazy. Every single one of them has an answer that is on that level. These white folks are crazy. Not Tyrone down the street has been harassing me. Not I'm getting robbed. They say either the cops are going to try to kill me or something's going to happen with one of these white supremacists where I'm going to have to protect myself. And that's just what I see. That's my current lived experience, right? I went into the military not to be a gunnery sergeant or not to be a person who drops bombs on people, but actually heal folks. You know what I mean? And right. I went from healing people to, I don't run up on Marcus.
Listen, I keep putting up King Brill's comment. King Brill is one of the realest people I know. He's from Jacksonville, from Duval. And I keep putting up this paintball comment because there was a group of us returning citizens that were down in Florida doing work. This is when I built the organizing department for Desmond Meade's Florida Rights Restoration Coalition. This brother was a part of that work, and we were at a retreat. It was a men's retreat for all brothers that were returning citizens. And we these young boys wanted to challenge us to a paintball gun war, and I did that work. We put in that work, bro. So I'm not saying I can't shoot. I'm just saying I'd rather not shoot. And I like these words, and I give them the work that way. So indeed, I hear you, Marcus.
King Brill.
Go ahead.
And just to add some historical context, the reason why I put this, I'm gonna put it up again. We will shoot back. It's on armed resistance in the Mississippi Freedom Movement, because we have this really kind of archaic, romanticized version of the civil rights movement. And Brother Akinyele Umoja, he was formerly the chair of the African American Studies Department at Georgia State. He wrote this incredible book that challenges all of those assumptions, because even in the civil rights movement, as quiet as it is kept, people were strapped. So you couldn't just run up in the homes and like the various places that civil rights activists were going to, like when they would go on tour. So when Martin Luther King would go around and go on like his church tours and do his speaking engagements, he went to the homes of Black folks who would protect him, who were armed. So you had a lot of this armed resistance throughout the Mississippi freedom struggle, throughout the civil rights movement, that we don't talk about. So this struggle, even though there was a nonviolent strategy, there were also self-defense tactics to make sure that they were alive. And so it is foolish. We're always like, well, we paint Malcolm X and Martin Luther King as kind of these opposing forces, and one wanted to just turn the other cheek, and the other one, was talking about, oh, we need to have self-defense. They were all talking about self-defense. It was just strategic for one person to do it out loud and be on the streets, and the other person to, just do it in the comfort of their homes under the protection of people who could guide them.
Indeed. That's a fact. And people don't even know this. There was never a time that somebody around King didn't have a gun, and his family was always protected. His house was always protected by armed folks. So that's an absolute fact.
That's why they shot him from so far away, because they knew that. They you don't run up on King either. Real quick, sis, I got a question for you. Did you do a documentary about Milwaukee?
She did.
Well, hey, listen. We had a couple of comments about that earlier. Yo, I know it might have been a little second ago, but man, talk to us about your work in Milwaukee real quick. I want to hear about it.
It essentially argued what we're seeing right now, that Democrats are so focused on painting things as far left to cater to their white moderate base or, white conservatives, that they're ignoring that you have a lot of Black people who want these policies in swing states. So if you take a place like Wisconsin, where the Black voter turnout is one of the demographics that shifted the election, if they were paying more attention and actually organizing there, getting boots on the ground, Hillary Clinton had fewer campaign offices than Barack Obama. There were it was really difficult for like Democratic operatives locally to get resources from the Democratic Party. And that had very real results that we're seeing right now. So I wanted to recenter what we think about when we talk about disaffected blue collar workers. And so I centered Black folks in Milwaukee, who make up 40% of the city. When we think of Milwaukee or some of these other Midwestern cities, we're just thinking about cornfields and white folks. Milwaukee is 40% Black, which is more than, not Detroit, but it's more than Chicago. It's more than Brooklyn. It's more than Los Angeles. It's more than Houston. It's more than Dallas.
And almost DC.
Right. So
running up on Atlanta.
So if you do not think about what these people want, what these communities want, you are going to be at a loss. You are not going to be able to succeed. So that was what I argued. And it was a short film, just asking people, hey, is it too far left to say you want Medicare for all? Is it too far left to say you want to cancel your student loans? Is this something that can only be done in the Bronx? And they're like, what? This is crazy. Like, why would anyone assume that?
Are we allowed to clip that and use some of that to actually help out our audience?
Yeah, if you want to show the beginning, maybe the first minute, I think frames the argument.
Where can I find it at? Let me try to figure this out real quick. And Mondale, you go ahead with.
Why? Yeah, go ahead, Marcus. While you trying to find it, go ahead, sis.
It's bit.ly. So you know bit.ly /leftout2020.
Okay, gotcha.
And I guess this is really cool or really cool. I think that's what you're trying to say. You said show some clips. Listen, that's what CNN and MSNBC for. We're not entertainment. We laugh and joke sometimes. We are an education station, brother. You come over here to learn, or sis, you come over here to learn, not be entertained. So you'll get clips when we have clips. Other than that, you have three beautiful black faces giving you everything you need to be politically aware of what black people are going through in your America.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Even though, you know what? I got it. Y'all want to see it? Y'all want to see it? I'm gonna share my screen, Mondale. Let me have at it. Hopefully this works out for us. Let me have at it real quick.
Marcus, we're not on Zoom, brother.
I know, but I can still share a screen, brother.
Okay, go ahead.
I could have actually done that. I didn't think about that.
That's right. It's coming. It's coming. It's coming. It's coming. There you go. Share.
We got no sound, Marcus.
You got to play from the very beginning. If you can play from the very beginning, because then that tells people what it's about.
Marcus, we got no sound, brother.
No sound. All right, we'll stop it. We'll stop it.
Well, that's it. It's left out.
Wait, what happened? What happened there? It's just me, y'all. It's just me. Did Marcus leave? Did Marcus leave? I think Marcus left us. He'll be back, I'm certain. But yeah, there he is. Yeah. So talk a little bit about the screen that Marcus was trying to share, and a little bit about the documentary as it pertains to like the introduction that you were trying to set up.
Yes, I mean it laid out the argument that I told you guys before you showed the clip, that you have the Iowa Democratic chair, Tom Price. I think it's something Price, Tony Price. I can't remember. Last name is Price. He's the Iowa Democratic chair at the time. And he was saying we need to get back to the Midwest. And somebody was joking about what are all the different, make sure y'all can see me. What are all the different nicknames for white people? So you say working class folks, good old Americans, the middle America people. And so they're using all these connotations to say, we just need to get back to what white people want. So I was like, well, what do black people want in the region? And if you're ignoring what black people want in the region, that means you are also losing. You would not have seen Joe Biden most likely get Michigan, or some of these senatorial candidates, John Ossoff and Ralph Warnock, get Georgia without black people. Wisconsin is so consistently blue because you get a lot of black people in Milwaukee who consistently vote blue. And one of the few times that they didn't, that's when we have Donald Trump in office, because of a mix of, white liberals and progressives and black folks who are like, y'all ain't giving me no choices. So it's not by catering to white moderates and white conservatives that you are consistently winning. If you're forgetting your base, and black people are a key part of that base, it's going to be hard for you to win unless you have like a Donald Trump in office. And, this kind of, I'd say this is an anomaly because everybody's wanting him out. Everybody could unite around that. Just get his ass out. But you're not always going to be able to have a Donald Trump-like figure. So you got to reach people's needs. So that was basically what I'm arguing at the beginning, is to reframe who we think about the Midwest, because you have a lot of black people in these communities.
That's Phil. I mean, that's for real. I'm not Phil. That's for real. Listen, people think people either vote or not, or don't vote because of some kind of pathology. What they don't know is the only way to make people vote is to spend resources on them, and a lot of resources. Unfortunately, Democratic Party and all of its auxiliaries think those resources, one, should be on TV, and two, they should be catered to the conservative-leaning white voter. And that is the dumbest thing ever. If you think about the Democratic Party as a business, that would be the worst business marketing plan ever. These people have not supported you nationally for 40 years, and you ignore the people that do support you every year. That's like trying to go get customers who will never shop with you and ignoring those that do shop with you. It is a bad business model, yet and still the Democrats are committed to it because they spend 1.3 billion this election cycle on white consultants and not people who support them. Marcus, unmute yourself and get in this conversation.
Yeah, no. I was in it. I was trying to. I was trying to actually share her link to everywhere else. We are at a place where there's not enough truth tellers. That's what I'm starting to realize. What I'm starting to realize is that we have to have outlets like this, and we have to have investigative journalists like our sister, and we have to have that actually talk from a black progressive perspective. Because what I have noticed is that every single faction of politics has multiple loud representation of a viewpoint, except for black progressives. And when I mean loud, I mean, and I don't mean someone who's representing whiteness. What I mean is looking at the progressive values from, and I'm sorry to go directly away from it. It's just looking at the work that she did. Like, I'm thinking to myself, how come CNN won't do a story like that? Right? Or how come we can't get more mainstream coverage of the things that we care about? Like, how come we can't have a mainstream push for things like reparations, which I'm about to ask you about, sister? How come we can't have, I mean, and of course we have to create it ourselves, but how come these things aren't empowered? How come the only things that are empowered are like voting rights, things that white moderates think are safe because we've been fighting for it since Martin Luther King, right? Like, and the reason is because I believe that when you start addressing black progressive issues, you really do fix America.
Wow.
Right.
Period.
Like you just fix America, right? Because black progressives actually speak for all types. Matter of fact, black progressives speak for all the classes within their issues, one way or the other, right? Same thing with indigenous progressives, right? We don't present ourselves with a tailored way to actually speak about it. And what I'm starting to realize also is that black progressive issues don't pass moderate vets. Just follow what I'm saying. Every single candidate, every single person that goes, every single major candidate, they go on, they have to get a vet before they run, right? That's, you know, they think,
or at least get the support of the party.
Right.
You said a vet, like get vetted?
Yeah, vetted.
Like get vetted, right? Get vetted, right? And if you ever notice something, you don't see many candidates out of majority black cities that rock with black progressive media outlets. You just don't. And it's because when you start hanging out with black progressives, you start talking about the faults of the Democratic Party or the faults of the establishment or the faults of things like that. And what I'm starting to realize is that just kicking it with black progressives is problematic, because we start addressing issues that fundamentally are so embedded in being ingrained into not talking about it, that when you talk about it, you become problematic. So it just, and I think about the amount of candidates that will probably be scared to come on Clickbaity.
Really cool. I'm so glad. I keep putting your comments on the page because one, the name is new, which means you're new to the show. So welcome. I'm also glad you're here because this idea that we need to talk about the working class people and the fact that they share common issues is also a misnomer. America doesn't have a working class. America is segregated. You're either poor or you got it. The middle class is so small. If you're working in this country, you're probably poor. And we need to acknowledge that, because what happens is we talk about these working class people sharing issues when we're doing is ignoring poor people that are poor because of policies. So we need to stop talking like that, because that idea leaves majority of Americans out of the conversation. We like to think there's a large working class in this country, but we are like Brazil when we talk about the have and have nots. So again, I will remind you all that we live in a banana republic, and the economic system in this country is no different than a for real banana republic.
So let me get to my question for our dear sister here. Do we force the vote on reparations? What you think?
Yes. Let's force the vote on all of it. I mean, like I said, we are at a really critical juncture right now where Black people are still dying, and we have an opportunity with a new administration to do something. So something has to be done. And so whatever the tools are, what's the harm in trying it? Why not? Whatever we can put in our tool belt. I don't think this is saying that electoralism is the only way. Well, if you force a vote, then what about all this? We can do all of that too. These things aren't taking years out of our lives. Spend a month or two, get this campaign going, do some other campaigns, and let's get things popping. Because, without any sort of sense of urgency or feeling challenged, these elected officials aren't going to do anything. And I'm all for reparations. I've been fighting for debating about reparations since I was like 15. So,
right.
We need it.
Why don't you think more mainstream politicians actually bring up reparations, sis?
Mainstream like who?
Well, okay, right now, the only 3 people that I actually heard talk publicly about reparations there's more than 3, but the loudest I've heard was Marianne Williamson, Jamal Bowman. I believe Cory Bush said something about it. And I mean, everybody else has to get asked.
You know what? This might be, I might be selling us short as a people or not giving us enough agency. But I feel like often what ends up becoming trending are the things that our media has the ability to trend. So much public opinion, for instance, has changed on like the minimum wage or a living wage and Medicare for all because it was talked about a lot in mainstream media. So I think without a lot of mainstream media folks talking about it, you're only going to get even a segment of Black people who are deemed, these complete radicals or whatever with ADOS. That's the only mainstream Black group even talking about it. So how are we going to get our elected officials who are in these like national or like who get national press attention to talk about it if we're not willing to like have a movement behind it beyond like the ADOS folks and whatever they got going on?
Right.
So and I think the problem is, listen, I am all about reparations for everybody who was enslaved. I also believe that that everybody that was enslaved in this world is not owed reparations by the United States of America. Those that were here and those that suffered not just slavery, but also Jim Crow and all of the stuff that came behind it are owed reparations. So I rock with ADOS on that standpoint. Where they lose me at is the dumb shit they say about our brown brothers and sisters and blacks or blacks that immigrated to this country. That shit you can miss me with because it's ridiculous and it's also counterproductive to what we need to do as it pertains to building allyship beyond the geopolitical borders of the United States of America.
Yeah,
go ahead.
And when it comes to thinking about people of other African ancestry, like people weren't having these kinds of arguments under the apartheid, like during apartheid. Like folks in the continent were fighting for Black liberation in the United States. Folks in the States were fighting for Black liberation abroad. We need as many hands on deck as we can. And any movement to me that is divisive is unnecessary. And first of all, like we ain't got nothing and we over here talking about, who gonna get what when it comes to ADOS.
Right.
I mean, sure, that's a conversation that has merit, but we ain't got nothing. We don't have nothing. The state bills are whatever state bills that exist. For instance, there's a reparations bill in New York. It's still in committee. So can we just get together, because we're gonna need as many people as possible just to get that out of a committee and get them to vote on it.
My thing about ADOS is because when it comes down to black people fighting black people for fighting for things, my thing with ADOS is very simple. Thank God for them because they held the gap when it comes down to like actually bringing it to the forefront. I don't care, like, because no matter what, every issue, has every issue, and every group that pushes an issue has its blind spots. Medicare for all people don't see that there's a very big, huge lack in racial equity in healthcare, right? Free college for all people don't realize that black and brown folks can't even get to college because it's underfunded schools in black neighborhoods. Like, we could look at every single thing that we call popular right now and then sort of like put a dent in it. But I do appreciate everybody putting up the fight. But with that being said, I actually want to bring up something. Shout out to the Black Caucus in the state of Illinois.
Oh,
because
I thought the CBC. I was about to say, Marcus, what's going on?
No, bro. No. We did our job today with Jamie. We're done.
Okay. Go ahead.
Jamie's probably watching this like, man, let me call this dude. There is also legislation called the Economic Equality Act that would give descendants of African enslaved in the U.S. a leg up in being awarded government contracts, among other things. That's what they're trying to pass. That's what the Black Caucus has put into a bill on the floor in the state of Illinois. And I know it's not like complete reparations, but when you start using, it is. And what I'm saying,
it's your idea, Marcus. It's the idea that it's an omnibus bill. It includes so much, even like addressing criminal justice reform. It includes addressing everything that you talked about in how the reparation bills need to be loaded to build a broad allyship or coalition.
Right. So when Rep Rab was on our show, when Marianne Williamson talks, when the Black Caucus of a whole state actually gets together, that's a bigger step than everyone else, because typically they give us the James Clyburn step, which is, y'all want reparations? I'm gonna give you 10, 20, 30. I'm gonna give you 30, 20, 10, whatever program that he decided that was going to equate to reparations, and it wasn't. I'm tired of us having elected officials, especially in an environment where black folks in Georgia have elected a Democratic Senate, a Democratic president, and we had a Democratic House.
All right, we're down.
Right now, we could pass reparations. You know that, right? Right.
We absolutely can.
Right now.
We absolutely can.
Right now. And if the Democratic Party appreciated the power that they have, then a reparation bill would at least make it to the floor. And if it makes it to the floor, that means it's going to get enough attention. Now, understand something. We do need a champion of it, or we do need a big time education effort for it, so our own people will support it a lot more. But the same thing I said before, like I say on all these shows, is if Bernie had supported reparations at the same time he supported Medicare for all, there'll be white gentrifiers rocking Reparations Now t-shirts all over America, and that's what I want to see.
So Infinite Content, we want to take this time to thank you so much, Marcus, not to blow what you said. Infinite Content gave us a cash app of $711. Shout out to you for that. Because that was the year that the Muslims conquered Spain. I'm thinking he's talking about the Moors. I think that's, if my history is telling me right. Conquering is a big fucking thing for me. I'm just gonna let that be. I think shout out to you for your support, brother, and also for always tuning in and showing up. That was not to put pressure on anybody else, because everybody watching us and clicking and sharing and liking is powerful. I think he wanted to do that to make sure that we didn't breeze over an important part of his history, the world's history.
Thank you, Kang. Thank you, Kang. Thank you, Kang.
I have a quick question. What did you study? Because you know so much trivia about international policy.
Yeah, I am a whole country nerd. Like, so I went to school, undergrad, HBCU, Livingstone College, yay, for political science. Then I had a double master's in African politics, and I'm sorry, double what did you call that thing? Minor, sorry, in African politics, African studies, and also in Latin American studies. And also I went to my first master's at Alabama A&M for urban research and planning with a concentration in black women in sub-Saharan Africa. Then law school with one semester left and didn't finish, and also divinity school with a couple semesters left and didn't finish.
Look at you, because I first met both of you at it was a trivia night around
trap trivia. That's right.
They came to Atlanta, and I was on Mondale's team, and he was getting all the answers right. They was like, "What happened in this coup in 1912 and such in Latin America?" And he was like, "I got it."
I'm a whole nerd. That's what happened when you're a boring person. You sit in here and read books. So
Mondale, you're not a boring person. You little gangster. Like don't do that. Don't do that. See, nobody's asking, but I went to FAMU and then I went to the streets and started selling rap CDs. That's what I did.
that's so funny.
I was selling baggies and rap CDs, man. Trouble Spokesman, my first album in 2002. Shout out to Larry Grams, my guy. He passed away early last year, but that's my guy. Anyway, yeah, I went to the School of Hard Knocks in Tallahassee, Florida.
Yeah. Listen, I thought you was going.
If somebody had asked about mixtapes in the comments, I would have asked you too, Mark. Well, what's your background in all this hip hop trivia? But he talked about 7-Eleven. So
that's right. That's right.
So let's before we got 4 minutes, and I want people to know where they can find both of you at. So y'all tell the people where they can find you at.
You can see my Twitter, Malaika Jabali. That's mostly where I'm at. I'm also columnist for The Guardian. So if you're ever on there in the op-ed section, you can see me doing some stuff.
Yo, and I'm gonna take my time to just y'all know where y'all can find me, just Marcus for America. But I'm gonna take my time to actually ask our sister Malaika to just like thank you so much for like joining us. Please come back again. We want you on a whole hell of a lot more. Thank you for some folks say we're toxic, but toxic male energy, but I don't think you don't think that, do you? We all right, ain't we?
I would have been on the show if I felt like y'all had toxic male energy, and I met y'all in person, so I don't know what other people.
Can we clip that? Trap Squad, can somebody clip that so we can like
that drama? I know the last time
right.
that clip.
That's right. That's right.
You hear what she said, Marcus? So what we're not gonna do is we're not gonna use that sister's agency and political power or capital on us. So what I'll do is I'll just continue to show up the way I show up, Marcus. I'm certain you'll do the same thing, and we'll let it speak for itself, knowing that some people will always have a problem with black men speaking about black men issues in a way that does not require us to submit to white will. So I'm cool with that.
Yeah, run the credits, Malaika. Would you stay on so we can chat real quick?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Yeah. Peace out, America.
Thank y'all so much. Again, remember, don't forget to subscribe and like. Yay.